right. Welcome to this morning's Ramsey County Board Workshop. The workshop will be a presentation on restrictive covenants update. As a reminder, the last time we received this update was probably last year. About this. It's a courtesy reminder that the board workshop is recorded and it is live streamed on the Zoom webinars. There are no votes that will be taken during this workshop. Let's start off with introduction of commissioners and presenters around their table, then to the rest of the room. Commissioner Mai Chong Zhang, I have the privilege and honor of representing District 6.
Ken Miller, Ramsey County Commissioner, District 7.
Wayne Anderson, Ramsey County Examiner of Titles.
Pat Chapman, Ramsey County Assessor.
Carrie Collins, Deputy County Manager of Economic Growth and Community Investment.
Lynn Becker, County Manager.
Rena Moran, Commissioner of District 4.
Tara Jevon Singh, Commissioner, District 1.
Rafael Ortega, Commissioner of District 5.
Oh, and Commissioner McGuire.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Mary Jo McGuire, Commissioner District 2.
Or your Deputy County Assessor. Todd Beecher, County Recorder, Registrar of Titles.
Tracy West, Director, Beatrice, County Auditor.
Jennifer Robb, Capital Pathways and Transfer of Regulations.
Thank you. All right. The workshop today will highlight Ramsey County's efforts and progress to discharge restrictive covenants. We'll hear a brief history of the restorative covenants, and the assessor will give results from a canvassing effort done last year and next steps in this process. So I'll hand it off to our presenters.
Thank you, Commissioner Zhang. Commissioners, we are here to give an update of the progress around discharging restrictive covenants. Wayne is going to give you an overview and a slight history, a brief history of this work. Many of you have been involved in it before, and many of you have heard about it, but we wanted to give a brief update. And then at the end, I'll wrap up some work about the way the assessor's office has gone about this in a more pointed fashion. So I'll hand it off to Wayne.
Thank you, Pat.
There you go. All right.
We're going to actually go to the next one.
There we go.
All right. There are a couple of statutes that are key to the work we're doing, and the first one is from 1953, which our legislature enacted a statute that made restrictions related to religious faith, creed, national origin, race, and color illegal and unenforceable. So the next statute is more recent, from 2019, which gave property owners the opportunity to discharge the covenants. Although they were not enforceable, they're still part of the land records. In abstract, they will just be old documents that people don't look at. And in the Torrens office, some of them still appear on the certificates of title. The property owner can record an affidavit, a discharge against their title to show that they have discharged the covenant. And in working on this, we use the particular definition of discharge from Merriam-Webster, the act of relieving of something that oppresses. And that sort of addresses why we think this matters. Since the covenants are not enforceable, we think that they still do oppress the property by having them on. In Ramsey County, restrictive covenants began around 1910. There are probably a few that are a little older. They really picked up being applied to properties both in Ramsey County, statewide, nationwide. During the New Deal, the FHA required that properties have restrictions on them to qualify for FHA mortgages. They use redlining to block off the, yes, we can make loans in this area, but not in this other area. In Ramsey County, Frankston's Como Park, huge development, subject to the covenants. And I don't wanna say that the Frankstons were terrible people. They were following the law to enable people to buy their houses and get funding. In 1948, the US Supreme Court declared that racial covenants of this type were unconstitutional, a violation of equal protection. So they became unenforceable at that point. And then the legislature adopted the rule that you couldn't even record such a restriction anymore in Minnesota. In 1973, our legislature adopted a statute that applied to Torrance property, which allowed it's 508.71, and it begins at the request of the registered owner or other person in interest. And it allows the examiner of titles to remove from a certificate of title the document that contains a racial covenant. Occasionally, we can't remove them because they also have utility easements or things we need to preserve. So we address the unenforceable portion by saying only the easements remain in effect. And then 2019, the legislation was adopted that allowed the discharge by the property owner. And the registrar and reporter provided documents to the mapping prejudice project, which allowed them to create a map of Ramsey County. They started in Hennepin, but they have a map of Ramsey County, which shows all the properties that are affected by racial covenants historically. They don't show if they've been discharged or not. They just say, here, all these properties have documents that included racial covenants. And the documents can be a declaration of covenants and restrictions that can be included in a deed. I'm aware of one plat that the plat itself has the racial covenants in it. So there's no way to actually remove that from the record. And I have seen one mortgage that included a racial covenant. So they looked at all of the documents that had been recorded from around 1900 through 1960. I'm going to say the beginning and ending of that could be a little bit. You may ask, why do we only count discharges from 2022? Two reasons. That's when the map for mapping prejudice became live. June 15th, it was possible for a property owner to go online and click on their property. You can now go online, put in your property address, and it will zoom you there and show you if there's a covenant, and you can get more information. You can see the language that applies. But also 2022 is when we started keeping track of discharges that were recorded and the documents that had certificates of title that had the offensive racist language removed from it. As you can see, the numbers have grown substantially in the past few years. A large part of that, the jump from 24 to 25, is because of Pat's office's efforts. We started with about 5,500 properties that were affected by racial covenants, and we managed to get down to about 4,300 that remain to be discharged. Some of the steps we've taken to try and raise awareness and get the property owners to do the discharge or request the examiners to issue a directive. There's a web page with information about the restrictive covenants. There's a dedicated phone line. The registrar's office sent out a targeted mailing to a little over 100 properties. And then we collaborated with the assessor's office, and they did a distribution last summer and plan to continue with that work.
Oh, yeah.
I just have a question. So does it cost to get this removed? Is there a fee for filing? Is it, I mean,
There is no fee. Technically, I think the statute originally said, yeah, you have to pay the recording fee.
yep,
And Ramsey County said, no, we're not gonna do that. We can't waive the fee because the state collects,
okay,
state gets part of our report, but we can pay the fee. So that has been Ramsey County's position for the, in the recorder's office is Ramsey County pays the fee,
how much is the fee?
$46. It's the recording fee for any document.
Okay,
I believe that the statute was amended to provide that there is no fee for recording that. Is that your statement?
okay, so there is no
So
fee,
there is now no
fee now.
fee and
Okay,
and for documents in the registrar's office for Torrance property, we have always, well, not necessarily, about 2008, we found all directives from that point on that affected RAFA covenants were no fee directives.
okay, that's great. Thank you for that.
Commissioner Murray?
So, I guess I'll open up by saying, I enjoy to see an improvement of discharges from 2022 to 2025. That's good. And there's like 4,300 that's out there in the universe right here in Minnesota. And I noticed that you sent out like mailing to like 100+ properties, which is like, doesn't even tap into.
It was meant to see what kind of response we would get. And based on the response, it was not found to be reasonable to continue. The number of responses was, I'm gonna say, 4 to 5%.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So who determined what household in what neighborhood received the mailing?
We started with an area, I think it was part of Frankston's Coleman Park, because the restrictions were concentrated.
Mhm.
And I think that was a largely, an area with largely Torrance titles. And it's, in some ways, it's easier to address them on Torrance than in abstract, because in abstract, the property owner must sign a discharge and have it notarized and send it to us. In Torrance, they have to ask us to remove it. And we don't care how you ask. So if somebody from Pat's staff shows up at your door and says, hey, you have a racial covenant on your property. Oh, look, I see your property is Torrance. Would you like it taken off?
Mhm.
If they give us a nod, that's enough of a request. So we chose some Torrance properties in a area of concentrated restrictions.
So I'm a little bit forward on this page here, but I see you have canvassers, so you believe you get better results when people show up at the door and talk to individuals.
And I'll talk to that, Commissioner. Okay. Thanks for teeing me up. I appreciate that. So as a result of the mailings and the lack of response, the county said, well, let's try a different way. And so as we were talking in a meeting, we talked about, well, I have assessors, they're out in the community all the time. How about we use them as the conduit, not the expert, but the messenger, right? So what we did is we developed on your left of page 9. Oh, I gotta do two things at once. Here we go. On the left, you see there's a notice there. And what we did is we decided to canvass And last year, in the summer was our first canvassing opportunity. We created this door tag on the left that is like a notepad that you pull off and stick on someone's door. That QR code you hit with your phone and it goes right to the page at Ramsey County where you can get all of the information about discharging your racial covenant. The county's assessor's office, we went to about 1,300 properties in 4 days. We made this the focus of our work for a couple of days. Now, we don't have a lot of days to spare in the assessor's office, but this is important enough where we did it this way just to see what we would get as a result. We had 15 different appraisers participate. And the results on the next page, I'm very proud to report. And this is gonna plan on driving our next canvassing days in this next year. In 2025, the visits that included a conversation with someone from my office, 70% of those conversations ended in a discharge. In our system, we have built out now, in our CAMA system, every time an appraiser's at a house, they can see if there's a covenant on there, if it has been discharged, if this person's been contacted before, all the information's right there. And with Torrance property, as Wayne explained, it's as simple as clicking a button. At the end of each month, we pull that data down, we send it to Todd, and we start the discharge process. So we have a very robust, easy system for doing this work. So let's look at the map of where the summer canvassing was. We simply chose the area with the most opportunity to have the most impact in the smallest geographic area. We assigned appraisers to those areas and we sent them out. Now, our office is keeping a map of the ones that have been discharged like this. Because on the map that is created for the U of M, it just shows them all where they were. Ours shows where they were and now where they're discharged. So we can kind of keep track of our progress. So you can see in the yellow here was, that was our canvas, the 1,320 properties. And then the purple was the discharge from that canvas, or 351.
Oh, yes. I just want to say, I appreciate that you have both where the covenants were and then where they've been discharged, because while I want to have these awful words off of our living documents, I do want to make sure that we continue to capture the historic reasons why our neighborhoods are so segregated, that it was an intentional practice. So I like that we can see where they were and then what we're doing to remedy it. I will just say, so I raised my family in a house just north of this map, and as part of the conversations around this, my family would not have been able to buy that house with the covenants that were in it. The family that we sold our house to would not have been able to live in that house with the covenants. And the reason why I say that is this isn't so long ago. When we moved into that space in the early 90s, we were the second homeowners, or a wave of second homeowners from original owners that were aging out of their properties. And so that means that in the however many years we were in that home, it went from a neighborhood of the original property owners based on those original covenants to look more like what our community looks like. This is in real time, these covenants and the lifting of these covenants are allowing our communities to grow organically and not be restricted by these old rules. And so this is really important work. The other thing I just wanted to say is I appreciate that you're learning from your outreach efforts and then reiterating in real time. Mounds View has been doing a lot of volunteer-based outreach efforts. Almost every time when I am in Mounds View for a community event, they have just a little table set up where somebody says, do you want to remove your covenant? Someone's got their laptop, and it's usually volunteers, that then they have staff around, but
who to follow up with it, right? But they can kind of do all that, and they've already released 281 of like their 600 so far, so like halfway there in very short time. So I would just say also, there are a lot of community organizations that have been doing education outreach, and I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can leverage them as well. Because they're in community all the time. Like you said, your time, the time of your assessors is really precious. There may be opportunities for us to do that.
I was just thinking the same thing. I think one of like, we haven't had one of these in a while, but one of those expungement sort of sessions, like, so I don't know if there could be like a covenant, restrictive covenant day in Ramsey County and coordinate with a bunch of partners and have it all be happening in lots of places on a Saturday or something, you know, kind of made me think of that when you were saying the Mounds View. Because those clinics seem to get a lot of people out, like when we promote something countywide.
Yeah,
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioners, just for additional context, when Mapping Prejudice released the map back in 2021 or so, we had a big virtual town hall, because it was still on the heels of COVID times. And we didn't know how many folks would attend, but it was Mapping Prejudice did a presentation, and then Ramsey County, New St. Paul staff were like, and here's, you know, how we intend to kind of rectify that. And it was their big release of the map. And we honestly, I've never seen a turnout on a virtual call like that. We had hundreds and hundreds of Ramsey County residents paying attention to that. And as a result, we had to quickly get up information about, you know, what we intended to do. And I remember Todd, you were on those early calls about working with the Just Deed Coalition. And now they've done such great work to see this through. But to the county manager's point, you know, whether it be on the ground, you know, looking at that town hall approach or some degree of campaign around this effort, the caution ahead of this whole effort was, okay, so now that we have the map, how are we going to see 500, 1,000 people coming at us all at once? And what is that going to do to staff? And so that was the impetus for this kind of slow rollout so that we could see how many people were going to take advantage of the service. And now that we got the fee thing resolved, I feel like we have the ability to be a little bit more robust instead of that. So, yeah.
Commissioner Miller first, and then Commissioner Jefferson.
Yeah, my question kind of was just, what did you hear? Or did your assessors report back of what they heard at the doors? Like half the time people, was it like, we didn't know we had this? Of course we want to remove it. How do, it's like, and that kind of cues up to what we were just discussing on education and, or, you know, having these community events or even just partnering with people or even interns. Like I think of the U, I'm in school at the U right now, one of my housing classes, like this could be a project for students to help move forward, right? Like there are many opportunities to help get this word out.
Yeah, a lot of the interactions with the appraisers were extremely positive at the door. There was some surprise, obviously. There was some, like, I always wondered how I did this.
Yeah.
And Falcon Heights, part of the area that we were hitting in Como there, there was some outreach done by the city, and then coincidentally, our timing was just after that.
Yeah.
So when you're getting the layered approaches between the cities and the counties, and everybody's bringing you the same message that, hey, maybe you want to take care of this, and this is how easy it is. It works out very well. Like I said, the thing that we built out was the ability to track.
Yeah.
So, and inside of my CAMA system now, our CAMA system, everybody can see it. So when an appraiser's there for a permit, hey, did you know this is a thing? My appraiser's there for our 5-year review per statute. Hey, did you know this is a thing we can do? And so now it's going to be part of our DNA instead of but we wanted to do a focused presentation because we want not this and this and this, we want this. So we wanted a big impact, and we figured that this is a way that, you know, our office can handle, and you know, on all these visits that we're doing with a reasonable knowledge, not a robust knowledge, you know, not like Wayne or Todd, but they can get them to the person that can really take care of it.
That's great. Commissioner Jefferson, did you have a follow-up?
Just really quickly, I like how you mentioned about Mounds View being really proactive in doing this. I think if we coordinate with other cities, like you said
Yeah.
with Falcon Heights, you could really probably get a lot of the cities on board and probably starting at the Ramsey County local league of governance, government would be a great start because that's a lot of the city partners are attend that meeting and maybe it could be each city a month or, you know, a time frame for
Mhm.
each area.
Yeah, we've heard of lots of communities that are starting this effort. Mounds View was on the forefront, Falcon Heights, and so it's been a good partnership
Yeah.
to get it done.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about is, we are in community, meaning Ramsey,
Mhm.
are tabling at almost all events in all corners of the community throughout this summer all of the time. So I guess the idea of, could it just be, I mean, I know we can't always have 1,000 things out, but you know, concerted effort to have here's the QR code, you know, just because you're there already. But then the other question that I have is whether it's working with city partners or not, or other organizational partners or a concerted campaign. Because the issue, now that we have the capacity to process these, but there's still going to be staffing issues, we're not, I guess the question would be, can we not communicate to community if we do a big campaign like this? Just phrase it in the, like, your request has been received and will be processed, like it's because there isn't an urgency. It's not as if this has to happen within 48 hours for a sale to go through. We're not holding back things progressing. This is righting a wrong, but so they can get an immediate sense of, you have done your part, we'll take it from here. But then we can stage the processing of that as staffing allows, so that we're also, you know, being respectful. You have to make sure that, you know, all of the other duties within your office are continuing to go forward. Is that, I mean, I don't, am I understanding that workflow right? Or is there a timestamp to once it's received?
No, that is possible, now, to have the communication with the resident that your request has been received. And once fully processed, we will mail you the recorded document back to your house.
And I think there's nothing wrong with being able to couple that with, because you and your neighbors are all responsive, collectively, like responding to right this wrong. You know, your thing has been received and we're processing a lot, like it's a positive, right? It's not a negative. It's not like we're dragging our feet. It's more along the lines of, because of the success of getting the word out, these would be processed as they're received. Thank you so much for doing your part to allow us to do this, that kind of messaging. And then that way you can face out your back of the house stuff.
Commissioner Moran.
You know, I kind of really like the QR idea where people can just click on that and fill out whatever they need to do and shoot it in. But how do you feel? I mean, it's when I hear, it kind of seems like Ramsey County has like a control way of being able to like control how the process look, right? Or who those appraisers are immediately getting it back to you. I don't know if you feel like they're trusted messengers more than anyone else because they're already in the community. You know, is there any like hesitancy maybe partnering with like district councils or just volunteer? Because 2026, this is a big year. There's a lot happening right now.
Mhm.
I mean, if any point of time that we can probably move forward with this in larger numbers would be like now.
It's a great point, Commissioner. This was one of the multi-prong approach. This was a try. Let's try it.
Mhm.
We tried a mailing, no results. We tried this, big results.
Mhm.
So now we're going to reinforce success. So how do we do that? So we're going to plan another couple canvassing days for the assessors, but also that's why we're having this meeting right now. Commissioners, you're in community all the time. If you have the ability to have this with you, you know, there's a little QR code. Hey, you had this question. Here's QR, try that. You know, and so this is the awareness part, right? So we had the first thing, which is a success. Now let's create more awareness and let's expand capacity. Still, my office is still focused on what it does. Wayne and Todd are on the back end doing all the work. We're the messengers, they're the work. And then you guys can also be, and the community can also be a big part of the message. And this work can really happen pretty briskly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys, in what was it? 1,300 properties in 4 days.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's
That is
good.
huge.
That's a huge number, yeah.
Yes,
We could-
it was a concerted effort to not go there for appraisal tasks.
Mhm.
Yep.
We're not gonna talk about your value or your property characteristics. We're not doing that today.
Mhm.
We're gonna take these days and it's gonna be about this effort.
Yep.
Now, if you had those questions, obviously you didn't say, we're not talking about that. We did talk about if people had questions about their other, their property characteristics and stuff, because we had all that data with us. Our tablets are active live in the field. We can answer a multitude of questions, but our focus was on this work.
Yeah.
I would just say that, I recognize the limited capacity of like people power from the assessor's office, but I think there's a lot you guys could do to sort of deputize like key people who are joined like a team that are the extension of you to do some of this. Like, could they play a video and then they know FAQs and questions and they go out to the district council? You can extend your reach by giving people, it feels like somewhat of a pretty simple message in a lot of ways. So if they could sort of get that part down and there's enough FAQs, I think there's a lot of people who could be bridging, you know what I mean? And so I think it's just creating a network that isn't overburdening and is kind of a little bit organized in a way so that it's not so crazy where you're answering emails all the time, right? Maybe it's like quarterly meetings. Here's the 30 people. They are attached to this. There could be some order to the effort to minimize sort of any extra work on staff, I think.
And I would pick up on that and say, even like the slide that you showed the messaging and the QR code that was tacked to somebody's door. If you had a slide deck, a couple of slides that we could drop into our slide deck. So if I'm talking to the chamber, if I'm at one of my municipalities, if we're talking to a community group, that it's your messaging. So it's up to date with what you feel is in place at the moment, but then we can share that out in the community very easily.
Commissioner McGuire.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I put my hand up, and then Commissioner Miller made my exact point. We should bring this to a Ramsey County League of Local Governments meeting. I really appreciated Commissioner Miller bringing that up, and I think that is a great group. I'm thinking of my business council for the chamber, all these different groups that we could, bring this to. So I guess we'll just need a packet of, I guess it would mean some of you going out and talking to them. I guess if you're willing to do that, we can bring you in front of these groups. That would be really ideal. If you have the capacity for that, we could start putting that word out because all these groups want to, want speakers. So.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Commissioner Miller.
I wonder too if you could reach out to like the St. Paul realtors as well as they're selling houses or as houses are being bought, they could, because if my realtor would have told me, hey, your house has this, I would have purchased the house and then removed it right away, right? But
we did a big summit with them the first year that the map was released, and they agreed to put information into their, how you get that folder.
yeah,
That sits on the counter at that time, but it's been a while, so that's a good place.
Well, and like something as a QR code too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was a big win to develop that.
Yeah.
It makes it quite a bit easier. And apropos, Commissioner, the St. Paul Area Association of Realtors has just reached out to me to try to they want me to come in and do a talk for them in March, April, which is obviously the worst time for an assessor, but I'm accommodating that and it was planned to be part of my presentation with them. And so, yeah, it's just fun to have something to report that's going very well. Kind of a grassroots thing by the people in this room, the county board, and we all just said, hey, how can we do this? And we just tried a couple of things, and now we're going to reinforce the success of the of a couple of the ideas that really worked out for it.
Great. One of the things that I would like for us to think about too, and maybe we have some learnings from across different areas, is just given the moment in time that we are in with the Metro Surge and the ICE agents going door to door and that real fear. What are you considering for like identifying like who our county staff are?
So our county staff in the assessor's office all wear bright yellow vests that say Ramsey County on them. They're very clear in their fact that Ramsey County, we look a lot like all of the workers in the neighborhoods, you know, with the yellow vests, and we, our time in the field is usually March, April, May, June. So we're coming into that time period. So as an office, we're building strategies on, what our presence is gonna look like, and our people are comfortable being in community. So they've been out there, you know, they're not out there just this year. They've been out there every year doing our statutory work. So, but we are looking at all different things. Maybe it's a partner year where you take a partner and two people go so that you have support as an employee out in the neighborhoods. But it's something that is obviously at our mind, and I'm hopeful that by the time we enter the neighborhoods, things look different.
And Madam Chair, Commissioners, I would just say in the springtime, you'll also start to see an influx of public works crews coming out, utility workers, and so they'll look more like that than they will the alternative. And so I'm feeling, you know, better about the timing.
Since we've implemented vests a couple of years ago, our acceptance in community has gone way up. You know, for a long time, assessors were unique individuals. You know, when I first started, we had an assessor that wore a tie and a coat every day and walked through the community. That's middle of summer, I mean, you know, but as we've evolved as an organization and as a profession, we've realized that we are, if we show up like people expect other workers in their neighborhoods, we get a lot more acceptance, we get a lot more, yeah, people actually open the door and say hi.
I can attest to this. We were out of town over the holidays. We had our ring thing go off and my husband's like, who is that? I'm like, oh, that's one of our guys.
Yeah.
And
Did he
it was-
flash his badge to your ring?
Yeah, well, I was just
Yeah.
like to your point, you know, I mean, I think it's good to have a distinctive, you know, and I was like, yeah, it's good.
Any other questions or comments before we move on to the next slide?
And so this is just the last slide, kind of our next steps, which we've all been talking about in here. And thank you for all the great ideas, the way we can leverage and move this work forward. We plan another round of canvassing this summer. We plan to engage with cities before that canvassing to see who needs, maybe there's a community out there that did something and they want to be next. They want to be the next one to reinforce. Because when you do, you know, you hear it once, that's pretty good. You hear it twice, that's pretty good. You heard it a third time, it's time to act. You know what I mean? Kind of that model. And so it's also a performance measure for the property tax, records and election services. This is one of the things that we try to measure as we move it forward. And we're talking about targeted advertisements with the media, our Facebook page, and some other things. We're going to start working with communications to get them the QR code. Maybe it comes out quarterly on the Facebook page, and so the people or the other media. I'm old, so I always think of Facebook. But you know, but more targeted things like that, and try to be more wide scope than narrow.
Commissioner McGuire, and then I'll go to. Oh,
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Whatever
You're
yeah.
ready.
Whatever you want, Madam Chair. Yeah, okay, I'm good. I'm on camera, right? Yeah. Just thanks for all this. It is exciting and it's great to see that the public is reacting to it. And I would just say, and I'm sure you're doing this and maybe you already said it, but you know, we really need to give notice to the community that you're going to be in their neighborhoods, because even wearing a vest or being out like public works, like I imagine people don't open their door for anyone, not even law enforcement, because we saw what happened to the Hortmans when they opened for law enforcement. So people are dressing up and really deceiving. So I hope you're working with the communities that just say, hey, there'll be someone in your neighborhood, you know, doing this work. And then I thought of National Night Out. Like that would be a great project for all the all the captains, all the National Night Out captains. Like, hey, have a table and do this. So I'm just brainstorming now out loud, but I'm thinking that National Night Out would be a great target. That's in August, of course, so.
Speaking of National Night Out, it's on the first Tuesday in August, and most of the
Mhm.
location or blocks are, supported, or at least the local law enforcement offices have a listing of where those are.
So
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Madam Chair, very similar to, and I don't know if we wanna wait till National Night Out if we decide to do a partnership there. But, I've been talking to our Director of Communications about putting out more positive news right now because there's so much, right? So this could be one of those things that we could try to pitch to like the Pioneer Press to tell a couple success stories. And then, we have a campaign that follows it. So to me, it could be, we could talk a little bit to Roosevelt, things you could do. It could be very simple of just sharing a press release to the press of just the work we've done, but it could even be having a small like panel where the media could ask them questions. They could do that chart that you did, wouldn't that be a really cool feature on a Sunday paper to talk about how those properties, like that map would be really neat in a Sunday paper, when they can do more of a feature,
Madam Chair,
So-
Commissioners, to Commissioner Moran's point, though, people are feeling very, they want to be able to act, they want to be able to do something,
yeah.
and what a tremendous way,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do something meaningful. And I almost see it as on the campaign side of things, like there's road to zero.
Oh,
Because
nice.
it's not as if when you discharge a covenant that, oh no, now two more popped up. No, there's actually,
could
there
get
is
done.
a zero. It's almost like a reverse, like fundraising thermometer. It's like, how do we get to zero?
Yeah.
And if we do a campaign around that, people are really feeling the need to
Nice.
act. So now might be a good time.
Well, and what a way to put all of, to be able as part of healing of
Yeah.
past wrongs, to say we are welcoming of everybody in our neighbors and neighborhoods. And in fact, we're gonna make sure that all of the words say that too.
That's good.
So then, for next steps here, I'm just looking at this. We have about 4,300 properties in Ramsey County that have these, restrictive covenants. And we are working towards zero, and that will be the performance measure for this. Okay, that's great. Any other, anything that is not on here that we need to include for our workshop here from the board?
I don't know, but I was just also think, a lot of us do our newsletters. We can also include that in our newsletter.
Yeah, that's great.
Right, we can do an introduction that is coming, to try to alleviate the fears that neighbors become messengers of what's gonna happen. And so, if we can get a QR code to send out, whatever you think is best way of allowing people to, in the moment, to be able to do something, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a great idea. May you reach out to the respective commissioners' offices if you will be having staff out there or have something planned so that they can also communicate that out. Because this isn't gonna be like county-wide, right, where you're doing the canvassing, it's targeted. So may you do that?
Commissioner, Madam Chair, we should be able to do that. Again, some of this, I wanna focus a little bit. The assessor's office is acting as a messenger for the people who have to do this work.
Yeah.
We are definitely not the experts in this field, but we have the expertise on delivering messages.
Right.
So, so we're open to a lot of different things, and it'll take a great bit of coordination between us and communications and stuff, but I don't hear anything here that doesn't seem out of line, you know what I mean? I think we can do, it's like, County Manager Becker always says, it's yes and. Yeah, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. And
That's great.
I think there's a real opportunity here to do a bunch of this.
Yeah, because, I won't belabor the point, but, it's targeted, and also knowing the time and moment that we are in, just pulling the right folks, makes sense. Any other questions or comments? Anything else that we should add or that I missed? Because I feel like this is comprehensive of what we've discussed.
Yeah, the only thing I would just add is it sounds to me that your team and communications are probably kind of put together a strategy or a campaign or some kind of idea. So I would just say, like, you know, we'll probably be waiting for some materials so that we can, you know, push in the same direction at the same time.
Yeah, the tool.
Okay, so good, thank you, so
you.
great
Thank you.
job,
You
this
too.
is, a really great model for getting the word out into community and, delivering results, so, great job.
Thank you.
So, if it was just about the sentence, it's like the back of the property tax.
Yeah.
So we could do it.